Hey guys, welcome to ADB Football Focus. I hope you guys are having a wonderful day. I am your host, Alvin. Remember this. There are other shows coming this week. I'm going to talk a little bit about college football and some things that are going on with college football. What I need you guys to do is to make sure that you hit that like, share, subscribe button, and also hit that notification button so that you'll be alerted when the next show comes out. Let's get started. Let's talk about the UFL games that happened this weekend. Wow, weren't they exciting? Every last one of them was an exciting game. What I want to start is with the Birmingham Stallions because that's the team that's near and dear to my heart. So I broke this game down specifically because I watched this very closely. So here we go. Birmingham Stallions versus Detroit Panthers. Birmingham faced Michigan on Sunday in a 20-13 contest that was a lot closer than I think it should have been. Birmingham kicked 4 field goals and managed 1 touchdown in the contest. Michigan scored 1 long touchdown on a man-to-man coverage with no help over the top. E.J. Perry hooked up with Marcus Sims, arguably one of the fastest guys in the UFL, for a 76-yard touchdown. Michigan managed to get the 1-point play after the touchdown, and Jake Bates had one 62-yard field goal and another 30-plus yard in the game. Now, here's my issue with Michigan. Their offensive star is Jake Bates, the field goal kicker. That's who their star is. That says a whole lot about their team. Okay, breaking down both teams' issues. While Michigan's defense is a talented group, they struggled against the run this week. C.J. Marable was running all over the place. C.J. was able to rip off several long runs, and both quarterbacks scrambled for long runs on the ground. Now, that does make it difficult when you have running quarterbacks for a team to cover the plays the way they should. Offensive line for Michigan just could not stop Stallions pass rush at all. It could not stop the Stallions pass rush. The left side of the offensive line was exceptionally vulnerable to the pass rush. Perry was in trouble so many times because number 77 Ryan Rope just seemed to blow his assignments on every protection. The man was just manhandled all day. Number 59 had a career day. Basically, on some plays, Rope would just cover the inside guy instead of taking the guy on his left-hand shoulder. He would take the guy on the right side of the shoulder. This comes from a guy who used to play offensive tackle. So what that means is you're double teaming with the guard on the inside guy. But what you should be doing is taking this defensive end that has no one to take him on. The back is definitely not going to take him on. You missed assignments all day. So that was the problem for Michigan. And I know I'm a Birmingham guy, so I'm paying that close attention. The reason Birmingham struggled to score wasn't because they couldn't run the ball, nor was it because they didn't have good receivers. The issue was the 2-quarterback system leaves a lot to be desired in the passing game. Matt Carroll and Adrian Martinez are talented QBs. Martinez seems to be more of the scrambler, but Carroll can use his legs too. Carroll scored the 1 touchdown that Birmingham scored because in the last game he got 200 yards. He almost 200 yards in passing. So Carroll is capable, highly capable of being the starter for the team, but for some reason Lou Holtz thinks it's important to have both players keep playing. Birmingham has very talented NFL caliber receivers. Holtz needs to focus on one guy as a starter and stabilize the leadership on offense. That's what I believe. Defensively, Birmingham has given up 1 long touchdown in each of the last 2 games. One last week against the Renegades, and then this week. The secondary functions best when in man coverage when there is a safety over the top. Birmingham blitz packages sometimes get them in trouble. Birmingham had better come up with some adjustments as they get into the meat of their schedule with teams like Memphis Showboats coming down to town this week. That's right, Birmingham is playing Memphis this week. Michigan's offense should be one of the better teams Birmingham faces this year. Now, Renegades' offense was pretty good, but the issue was they didn't have an identity. They found their identity this week, and we'll talk about that in the Battlehawks game. Memphis Showboats versus the San Antonio Brahmas. Now, this game was important because Memphis is playing Birmingham this week, for me at least. Turned out to be probably one of the best of the 2 games this week. Brahmas came back to win 20-19, scoring 12 points in the last half and winning with a last-second touchdown play. Now, Case Cookus was his usual productive self for Memphis and was definitely the power behind their 19 points. The issue was turnovers at crucial points in the game that cost the Memphis Showboats in the end. Secondly, I get that you were successful with the run in the second half early on and just wanted to protect your lead, but you needed to score at least one more touchdown. One more touchdown. They didn't do it. The running game got Memphis in trouble as several drives stalled out as Memphis only scored a field goal in the second half. That meant that the defense spent a lot of time trying to stop the Brahmas' high-powered offense from getting in the end zone and began to get very tired. Now, the Brahmas had serious issues with the Memphis pass rush and at times got crushed by the Memphis blitz and zone coverages. By the fourth, San Antonio had only scored 6 points. But because Memphis' defense was basically spent, they managed to score 14 points in the last few minutes of the game. That included a drive that started with a successful 4th and 12 from their own 28-yard line with a minute to go. That turned into the winning drive of the game. And that was the biggest problem for me with Memphis is they got behind. They got themselves in trouble. They wanted to run the ball so much in the second half that they would get the third down. Now they need a pass, and it was 3rd and long. Got you in trouble. I think it at least caused 1 or 2 turnovers as well. Case Cookus kind of was not the same person after he fumbled that ball. Now, the DC Defenders versus the Red Roughnecks turned out to be a pretty good game. DC bounced back this week at home with a 20-13 win. Yes, the beer snake was in full effect. That one of the best crowds in the UFL showed up for this contest. Now, DC special teams got the game going on early as they blocked a punt and gave the team the ball at the 30-yard line. However, Tamu would overthrow his receiver, and that turned into an interception for a touchdown, pick 6. That one kind of hurt DC for a second, only for a second. Now, DC's offense would bounce back and score on a touchdown run. DC would battle with defenders well into the second half after the Roughnecks replaced quarterback QB Jared Garantano with Reed Sennett. Now, let me say this. Reed Sennett looked like the starting quarterback. Garantano probably is what cost the Roughnecks this game. And I hate to put that on just on the quarterback because there were some turnovers at crucial times in this game. One was after Reed Sennett threw a long pass to number 22. He looked like he was sprinting to the end zone, and he fumbled the ball. They grabbed his arm, and he fumbled the ball. That was like a fluke play. Y'all have to excuse me. I have still a little congestion from that COVID. When I had COVID. DC defenders played really well this game. Tamu threw for over 200 yards with 2 touchdowns and 1 pick. The running game seemed to find a rhythm this week and was really good. DC's big oops came on the pick 6 and open receivers still dropping passes. Because of those things, this game was probably a lot closer than it could have been. Secondly, the DC secondary got confused on the coverage of allowing the Roughnecks some big gains and a touchdown through there. Now, if you saw that touchdown that sent it through, you would have noticed something. The cornerback and I guess it was another defensive back, they both converged were looking at the inside receiver, the underneath receiver, and the other receiver snuck behind them, and the safety, who was supposed to cover over the top, was way out of position. He had to run all the way across the field, and he missed the tackle, and the guy just ran the end zone. Now, on the other hand, while the Roughnecks defense was tough, especially Reuben Foster and Nate Odoms, the offense struggled early to be productive. That prompted the QB change. Sennett will definitely get his start next week as he was much more consistent than Garantano. Issue for the Roughnecks is still determining their go-to guys, and they got to stop those turnovers. Secondly, a block punt, interception, and a fumble. A huge play that looked like a touchdown cost them the game. So, if you can fix those issues, I think the Roughnecks will be a better team going forward. Last but not least, let's talk about the Battlehawks versus the Arlington Renegades. So here's the start of the show. The Battlehawks beat the Renegades in a shootout with an estimated crowd of 40,000 people, 27-24. A.J. McCarron looked as if he could do no wrong throwing to Marcel Aikman this week. Aikman finished with 114 yards, receptions, and 2 touchdowns. Marcel Aikman, this guy is definitely going to be on somebody's NFL team next year. A.J. McCarron was 19-29 for 248 yards and had a pair of touchdowns. Now, A.J. McCarron was on an NFL roster, asked to come back because, you know what? He says his son likes to watch him play in St. Louis. And guess what? He's getting all the accolades. He's getting all the accolades there. He should. I mean, he drew a crowd of 40,000 people this week. Every score counted in this game as Arlington came out on firing as 3 of their receivers combined for 248 yards and 3 touchdowns. Perez looked poised at QB. Here's the issue for both teams. Defense. You can't say anything any worse. The defenses weren't bad, but they had moments. Like, it was bend don't break type defense, and sometimes they bent way too much and they broke at the wrong time. While it's nice to see 2 teams put a pretty display of offense, the 2 defenses were struggling to stop each other's team's offense. Now, the run game, both teams struggled stopping the run. Passing wise, they got caught in a lot of, especially the DC defenders. They got caught with guys wide open behind the defense. That was a big issue, and that's how we get this 27-24 score. Even though most of those were field goals. This still was the best game of the week. It was hard not to miss how both teams struggled to get to the other team's QB. And yeah, there were a couple of sacks in the game, a couple of hits on the quarterback, especially with A.J. McCarron because he's not a very mobile guy. They still managed to get the ball off. Both of the quarterbacks managed to get the ball off. Renegades struggled stopping the run. So did the Battlehawks. Renegades offense seems to run best on the committee system. In other words, if they're all the wide receivers this week proved that they've got multiple guys that they can go to. As long as Perez is throwing the ball, they're in good shape. They still got to kind of find an identity that helps to win the game. Everybody needs to step up. The Battlehawks has their go-to guy in Aikman. The running game looked pretty good. Foster looked pretty good as a running back. So they've got a bevy of talent on the Battlehawks offense. And I believe Aikman will be, like I said earlier, Aikman will probably be on the NFL team next year and a couple other guys. I don't know what happened to Hakeem. He just seemed to have disappeared. So we'll see if he comes back. This week's set of games were some of the best. So far, the past 2 weeks of the UFL season has been great. I'm not going to say that the XFL is better than the USFL or vice versa, but both leagues seem to be doing pretty good together, and I'm glad that they combine these teams. I can't wait to see what happens next week. We will have a preview show later in the week, and you folks have a nice day. Peace.